Yeah, we mentioned the great weekend Indiana University had as a whole with the men's basketball game winning on the road at Xavier. Then they got another win over Miami. The women's team won. They're 5-0, number 6 this week in the top 10. The soccer team moved forward in the NCAA. The wrestling team beat number 23 Princeton. And let's see and football. I guess I said that. I think I've named everybody that did something. The volleyball team knocked off number 5 Ohio State in Columbus. Wow. So it was like, wow. So just a great weekend. But now basketball, it's back at us hard and heavy. Indiana is on the court again Wednesday and Friday. Their last final 2 tune-ups before the big bad Tar Heels come to town. The Big Ten started out with just 3 teams in the top 25, Mike. Now there are 6. And someone pointed out there are 9 in the top 35. It's like all of a sudden you win a few games, and what have you done for me now? How you like me now?
It is amazing what they've done so far this year, so far this season. The success the Big Ten teams are having. I expected that this would be a better Big Ten than its reputation would be. That when I was seeing I think Sporting News had 4 to 5 in our top 25. I knew that it was going to be better than being suspected. I thought that the line would be drawn, though, around 7, that there would be 7 really solid teams, 7 teams that would get to the tournament out of maybe 8 that would be in contention. I think we're bigger than that. Now, Maryland has just blown me away. What Kevin Willard has done there in one preseason is way beyond what I thought was possible.
And their recruiting classes and their recruiting is what he has coming in. Man, he's got some players coming too.
He has completely changed a culture that had been for the better part of a decade, and we're okay. I mean, that was kind of Maryland basketball, right? We're okay. I mean, that it should have been on the side of the Xfinity Center. We're okay. But last week they're coming out and they're tearing the throats out of really good teams. What they did to St. Louis was way beyond what I would have expected. And then they went on from there and did more and won the tournament championship. The first 3 games they beat they showed what they needed to be. But as with the case with a lot of what the Hoosiers done, with the exception of Xavier, it's just, we're working on ourselves. And then they go into that tournament and shock everybody by doing it to really quality opposition. I did not see that coming. I respect Kevin a lot. I think he's terrific, but I didn't expect it to be that quick. And with these guys, to be able to be that successful.
Another team that's kind of surprised me here early in the season, Mike, has been Iowa. I thought they lost a lot from last season, obviously from 2 seasons ago when they were really good too. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I feel like I don't give Fran McCaffrey enough credit for being a really good basketball coach, because I feel like they would have some good years and they would have some down years. But it's right now, I know it's early in the season, just a couple games in. I don't think they have quite a noteworthy win, but they've won impressively over their competition. I mean, do you think they're a contender to get back to the NCAA tournament? Because that was a team I thought might hover around 500, but Fran's got them playing really well right now.
Well, they did lose a lot, obviously. I mean, they lost the 4th pick in the draft in Murray. But his brother, I was concerned about his brother because he looks just like his brother. They're twins. And now his brother's not there. So, and he was expected, Chris was expected to be a good player. But, do you expect him to be identical on the floor to what his brother did a year ago when he was one of the 5 best players in college basketball? That felt like a lot of a burden. And I asked Fran about it at Big Ten Media Day, and he didn't seem overly concerned about it at that point. And obviously, because he watched him practice, I mean, Chris has been fabulous. Not sure he's been quite his brother, but again, you don't have to be one of the 5 best players in college basketball. If you're one of the 15, which I think Chris is right now, that's a heck of a thing. I mean, 15. There's like 5,000 players. You're one of the 15 or 20 best. That's pretty good. And so I think that I think that they've got a chance to be right there. Now, they probably won't defend well enough to win the title. It's not been their thing. Generally, they're not built necessarily for that, although I think they'll be better. I think they'll be improved. Bohannon was never a great defender.
No.
It was always a chore for him. He's not a part of it anymore. So they'll miss the big shots he made.
He's not with Illinois anymore?
Iowa.
I mean, he's not with Iowa anymore?
His 7 years are up, I believe.
Man, that's shocking. It seems like it went so fast.
So they'll. I think they have a chance. I think they're built to be better defensively than they've been, but built well enough defensively to win a league that's still going to be strong. I'm not sure, but I think they're on a good track to be a tournament team, and they don't have a great win, but winning on the road at Seton Hall, fairly impressive. They still, they'll eventually play some of the. Some of the teams in the ACC, excuse me, they play Clemson, Georgia Tech, and then they'll get Duke. So those are some of the teams that they'll play, and then they have Iowa State, and then they start Big Ten play with the Badgers. So they've got a string of tough games coming up. They can get through their 2-2, 4 or 3-1. They'll really be rolling.
Virginia and Armand Franklin having a good run right now. I saw they beat a couple teams the other night. They beat, was it Illinois?
Yes. They beat Baylor first night in Vegas, and then Illinois in the second game. Virginia's a really good team. I was asked by Jack Ebling up in, I believe it was on his show, give me a team that nobody's talking about that could be serious. And I gave him Virginia. That was prior to them going out and winning those two games. They have size. They have real skill, some terrific players. They have leadership in Kihei Clark. They have one of the best coaches in college basketball in Tony Bennett. They're going to be a serious threat to win the ACC, although obviously they have to climb over both Duke and Carolina. They're still a serious threat, and they'll be bothering people in the NCAAs.
That defense is there because they control the game, and they're keeping you to 52, 54 points. They're controlling you, and Illinois does not want a game that's 52 points.
Yeah, right. Illinois got frustrated. Terrence Shannon, who had played so well to that point, got really frustrated in the second half of that game. And took some really tough shots in a game where, especially against Virginia, if you don't work for the best shot, it's probably essentially a turnover. It'll be a missed shot that they'll rebound and go the other way. And there were about 3 possessions in the crucial stage of that game that Terrence wasted on impatience and frustration. And then Virginia took control of what had been a very tight game.
Can you believe that Bellarmine is the best Division I basketball team in the city of Louisville?
Yeah, they are too. They are. They're very good. I mean, Scott Davenport does a tremendous job. There's no doubt about that. He was sitting there when Louisville made its hire, and I don't disagree with hiring Kenny Payne, but I think I would have paid Scott Davenport a lot of money to be on my staff. Is what I would have done. I think he's fabulous. Maybe he wouldn't have wanted to do it. He's having too much fun being a head coach and doing a fabulous job at it. But they did a nice job down at Duke. In addition to winning the earlier game against Louisville, they did a nice job down at Duke last night.
Not only that, how about the A-Sun? Just real quickly, Stetson with the Luke Brown. Stetson might be the best team in Florida. Yeah,
good point. I mean, Florida State's really struggling. Miami's still there, and Jim Larinaga is doing a nice job. But Luke Brown, baby, I mean, he's a machine.
Yeah.
It's what I forget if somebody said it, doing what he scores.
Yeah.
For Hoosier fans, they just need to keep in mind the Big Ten is going to be a lot more difficult than you think it is. It's not just Indiana and Illinois. There are several good teams, and then there are several Big Ten teams, and then there may be a couple of that you can probably, I don't want to say take your mind off of them completely, but relax a little bit. You should never relax. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in the fans' mind.
I think what it comes down to, and I don't have the Hoosier schedule pulled up, but what you'll have in the Big Ten is if you get Minnesota at home, okay, you can roll out your secondary effort, so to speak, and you should be able to win. As long as your crowd gives a primary effort, you should be able to win with a secondary effort. There are maybe one or two teams in the league like that. Nebraska, I think, might be in that category. But on the road, if you're not A game, you're either losing or you're way closer to it than you should be.
Yep.
That's the reality of this conference now, and it'll be more so when you bring in UCLA and USC in a couple of years.
Yeah,
because those teams are serious all the time. So it's a hard league to play in, and it really taxes the players because in the NBA it happens, in the NHL it happens. I see it all the time. You just try to get by with your B effort and hope the crowd does it for you, and the fact you're at home, so maybe you get a whistle here or there, and you try to get out of there without necessarily putting everything into it because you just did against whomever, and you've got to against the one that's coming up when, let's say, you're going to Illinois or something like that. So, man, if we could just get, it's just the reality of sports. You're never going to be great every night. Yeah. And some leagues demand it of you that if you're not, you're in trouble. Now, you may survive some of those with one player having a good night or a big call going your way or the other team making a mistake at just the wrong time. But it's hard. And I really believe that's why in the NCAA tournament, the Big Ten has struggled the last couple of years. A little bit of wear and tear and a lot of, in order to win in this league, we have to find out what's the best version of ourselves and try to hit that every night. And then you get into the NCAAs and you're playing against something you haven't seen before, and you're counting on your best version to win, but your best version isn't matching up with the tactics of the opposition, which are throwing knuckleballs and changeups, and you're trying to hit fastballs and sliders. It's really hard, and and historically, leagues that have been this competitive. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be like it was the last couple of years. I don't know that yet, but it's trending in that direction. And if it does, it does make the challenge in the NCAAs more difficult.
Well, yeah, you've got Indiana with their schedule. They have altered it to their betterment. They used to always have a solid non-conference schedule. Now you've got North Carolina. They've got games coming up. Once you get past these next two games, they play North Carolina at home, then travel to Rutgers. You got Nebraska at home. Then you play Arizona and Las Vegas. Then you play Kansas at Fog Allen. That's a stretch. It's brutal, but that'll show you where you are for certain.
Absolutely. The Carolina game is a great opportunity because you're going to get A+ effort. I mean, they're not going to, they're not phoning that one in. They're going to give an A+ effort. Now, sometimes it doesn't look like an A+ effort because the other team's doing so well against you that you look like but no, you're getting A+ effort against Carolina. You'll get A++ from the crowd. We've seen what that's like in those games. It's going to be fabulous. So that's a great opportunity for them against a team that to this point in the season has its eye on March, understands, man, like March is a long way away, and they know it better than just about everybody because it's all the same guys that finished second last year. So they know it better than anybody. Plus, they also got there without playing great November, December, January, February. And so they've got to cure that. And this is an opportunity for them too, because they need to be focused. If they come out the way they have for most of their first several games, they'll get run at Assembly Hall. So I think that they'll be on their game for that game because they understand that. And so it's a great opportunity for the Hoosiers. And then you follow that with the early start to league play, which has become a fact of life in the Big Ten. And more other conferences are going that direction as well, where they have early conference games because it makes sense to play your conference and feed your your own individual network, ACC, whether it's ACC or Pac-12. I don't know why the SEC has held out on that, both in football and basketball, but it's most leagues now are playing some in early to mid-December.